And again, going back to my previous point, in most setups without Littledata, you would be missing around 20 or 30% of the conversion signal would be lost and not captured into Google or Meta ads.
Hello, Edward.
Hi there.
Thank you very much for coming into this pod. For the people that they don't know who you are and what Littledata is, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what is the problem that Littledata solves?
Sure. So I founded Littledata about 8 years ago. The backstory is I've been working really as an analytics consultant for a few big brands in London. And we saw this same story again and again, where we would go in and set up Google Tag Manager. We'd spend hours and many thousands of pounds of time to sort of get all the data tracking configured right, and then something would change on the site. They'd relaunch a theme or add a new design, and something would break. The data would be ruined for a month. They'd lose their ad targeting. Google Analytics would be screwed up, and there was this constant cycle of the data not being quite right. And we were like, there must be a better way. So we realized with Shopify starting to scale up and being more relevant for larger brands, we could take all of the stuff we learned as consultants and apply it automatically to Shopify stores. And the magic was doing this server-side tracking. So what Littledata was known for originally was server-side tracking for Google Analytics, but we've now expanded that product suite to handle all of the major marketing channels that a brand might be using. So obviously Google Ads, Meta Ads, Klaviyo, TikTok, Pinterest. And the reason server-side tracking was so transformational for us, although we'll come on to it's not the only sort of tech that we have, is that it enabled us to bridge between the landing page, which obviously it had all the critical information about what campaign brought people to the store, with actually what happened after the checkout, whether someone actually purchased. Because there's lots and lots of stores, there's a number of steps they go through on the checkout, etc., and the attribution and conversions were getting lost along that journey. And as you well know, unless we can give the ad platforms this accurate data back to guide the ad spend, and most of this ad placement is totally programmatic now, the algorithm in Meta or Google can't know which ads to promote, which creative is working best. It's running blind. So give the algorithm more visibility on which ads are driving sales, and you generate a better return on ad spend.
Okay, I understand. But for the people that they might not know about Google Analytics, they have no idea about Google Analytics. All they know is I have a Shopify store. Why I need Google Analytics? I can see my dashboard with Shopify. It's very, it has so many data. I don't even explore that at all. So why though server-side tracking, and why Google Analytics in the first place?
Yeah, sure. So as you say, the Shopify Analytics, the dashboard within Shopify is great. If you want to do any analysis of which products people are buying, how many orders you had, that's your source of truth, right? You know that if you see €1,000 in Shopify, that means you did €1,000 yesterday. The problem is the actual marketing attribution, the marketing analytics in Shopify is quite weak. You can really only get very basic last click analysis of where those campaigns came from. If you want to do any kind of drill down in terms of multi-touch attribution, basically where more than two marketing campaigns interacted, if you want to break it down by geography, if you want to break it down by the device that people on, all of these nuances, then suddenly you run out of Shopify's analytics products. It's designed for robust reporting on orders and products and customers, but not on the actual marketing channels that brought them there. And Shopify doesn't release any integrations for its events data. So it captures all that stuff on your storefront. It only surfaces in Shopify Analytics. So it's also not a very, let's say, it's not a platform with any integrations. So Google Analytics comes in because it's the gold standard globally for marketing analytics, marketing attribution. It allows you to measure every site on your, every visitor on your storefront. And it's got plugins for every other reporting dashboard tool that you could think of integrates with Google Analytics. The challenge is that in Google Analytics you're not getting that accurate revenue and customer data, because that is well, there's various reasons why it's not accurate through the standard method of just putting the Google Tag Manager script on the page or the Google and YouTube channel. But the main reason is, frankly, when people get to the thank you page, that ping to Google is just never registered. Either it's the network interruption, or they're using ad blocker, or the cookie's been lost, or various reasons, but it's just never received and registered as a conversion link to the ad channel. And so what server-side tracking basically does is combine all of the good things in Google Analytics about all of the tracking, the campaign and the session and the device they're on, the geography, etc., but also layering on top of that the accurate customer revenue and data from Shopify.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. But the problem with Google Analytics, like, because like I have this in my mind, that not many Shopify stores, like, because like especially on the lower end, they don't set up the Google Analytics. They don't see Google Analytics at all. The Google Analytics were like something crucial for stores that were custom based, stores that were like on WordPress, like back in the days. So there you didn't have any analytics unless you used Google Analytics. So this is something that I have it in my mind. So it's a useful tool for even for Shopify store owners to actually see the attribution without them trying like even pay a tool like Triple Whale, I suppose. Like Triple Whale is something, yeah, it's what Google Analytics does, but paid version. Like,
Well, it is. I mean, TripleWell does go a bit further, and it is a great product in itself. But I think that it's trying to solve the. I guess there's an alternative way of solving that problem. Like, as you say, at the low end, if you not really spending much on marketing, and you have very static, simple channels, like maybe you don't need better marketing analytics. Frankly, maybe you can just rely on the reporting within Facebook ads itself. But as you say, you start to scale up, you start spending across different channels. You clearly need some way of bringing it all together. One solution is a paid attribution tool like Triple Whale. Another solution is just use a free attribution tool like Google Analytics, but get accurate data into it. And that's our solution. So we're saying, hey, there's already a Google Analytics is not a broken tool. Why you can't get accurate reports is just often that you're not feeding the right data points in. So better data plus free tool equals good value. But also, as I said, it's also about openness. So the other limitation of Triple Whale is it's basically its own, it's its own walled garden. Like it all makes sense within Triple Whale, but you can't really pull that into other tools. So as I said, almost every other reporting dashboard tool that I've seen pulls data from Google Analytics. So whatever your chosen reporting tool is, Looker Studio, Tableau, Suite Analytics, whatever it is, Google Analytics is your foundational data that you use to power that.
yeah, okay, I understand. And like about the servers, about the server to server integration, Shopify, I don't know, like because I knew Littledata a while back, so you had a different app for Google Analytics, I think. So basically, we expanded to all the other tools that we're going to talk later on. But I want to focus on the Google Analytics solution. The main thing is that right now, when you go into Shopify,
And just before we go into that, John, I should just clarify that we now, to make it easy, because you're right, we're known for the Google Analytics solution. So actually, earlier this year, we split out a separate free app for Google Analytics. So if anyone's listening and just wants to get, we'll come on to the benefits for the ad channels in a moment, but if they just want to get accurate data into Google Analytics, we now have a free standalone app that just does that.
okay, and the the issue, like the question I have is, when you go into Shopify now, there is an app that says Google and an app that says Meta. And the app that says Google, basically you can download it. It's going to help you with the pixel setup, the ad account setup, and basically set up the campaigns on Google. But it also has a Google Analytics section that is basically connecting and feeding back to Google Analytics. Is that a solution, a right solution for Google Analytics, or it is lacking in some way?
It's lacking a number of ways. As I said, I mean, it's probably fine at the low end if you're not that concerned about data accuracy. But the key, I mean, the key areas where we've improved upon that with our app is first of all just the revenue tracking accuracy. If you go into Google Analytics set up via the Google and YouTube channel, you will see, maybe 70% of your Shopify revenue there. So you'll see typically 20 to 30% of it missing. That's because the problem I just described earlier, where it just never gets tracked. Second problem is you'll see is just a lack of visibility on some of the key e-commerce steps. You won't see things like removes from cart, checkout steps, etc. in there. But third thing is you're not able to see a whole load of other enriched customer data in there. So, for example, customer lifetime value, number of purchase the customer has made, and these are all things we push through as customer dimensions so that you can build better audiences. And in fact, one of the other really good, there's another really, like we talked about comparing Triple Whale with Google Analytics, but there's another really important reason to use Google Analytics, even if it's not your favorite reporting tool, because it provides a really powerful way you can build audiences to retarget in Google Ads. So it's a more, so for example, let's say you want to use Google Ads to target customers who purchase from you but haven't purchased in the last 6 months. You can do that in Google Ads. You can do it, in Google Analytics, and export that audience to Google Ads. Or maybe you want to target people who bought only one product category and didn't the other. You can use a cookie-based audience in Google Ads. So I think that sort of it's not just a tool for analytics; it's also a tool for audience building.
Yeah. Okay. Completely understand. And my main question to that, like, it's going to be a follow-up question basically, but like, why does like Google and YouTube app doesn't have all those features? Like, they don't have like the integration, because it's a server-to-server integration either way. Like, they do server-to-server.
It's not actually the Facebook and Instagram one is because they wanted to do a deeper partnership with Meta, and they did build that in. But the Google and YouTube one does not use server-side tracking, so that's part of the reason. The other reason is that they just it's about ownership. So if you go into the Shopify App Store, the app is owned by Google LLC. I'll tell you, no one at Google knows about that app or has ever maintained it. Okay. So what happened is Shopify built the app. They said, hey, we don't want to bother maintaining it. So Google, it's your job now. And the last 3 years, it's been a stalemate that no one wants to maintain it. So it's an unloved app. It don't get me wrong. They both parties see as important on the ads partnership, because Shopify is actually one of Google Ads' best sort of, let's say, channel partners, because you can just set up Google Ads directly from within that app, particularly for Google Shopping. But actually, that's not, as you know, like a lot of brands, Google Shopping is not really their main focus. They want to actually get people, direct to the brand store, and so I guess we see that app as being good if you want to do sort of Google Shopping and Google Shopping feeds, but very weak if you want to do Google Analytics. And I don't see them bothering to improve the Google Analytics part, because it was a sort of, let's say, an afterthought. It wasn't the app's main aim.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. That's a great explanation. Now that you actually mentioned the Facebook app, I want to go and jump into the Facebook app, because basically what Littledata, and there are other tools out there, we're going to discuss about them later on, but like Littledata, what it does is basically you have your Shopify store, you install your Meta app, you install your Google app in order to do Meta and Google Ads, but Littledata can do this work basically. So it can connect between like Meta, so you don't use the default Meta app. It can connect also to Google, so you don't use the Google app. So let's talk more about like, why should I replace my Meta app?
Exactly, because we absolutely are an upgrade on that Facebook and Instagram channel. We're an upgrade in a couple of ways. So the first thing to clarify is that the Facebook and Instagram app does use server-side tracking. That uses the Meta Conversions API, which is considered best practice. The problem is it doesn't use it consistently and thoroughly throughout the whole journey. So the first improvement we make is just to send more server-side events further up the funnel. So from add to cart and initiate checkout, in our app, those are both sent server-side rather than client-side. So that enables you to target, retarget people further up the funnel with more accuracy. The second thing is just the what Meta calls the event match quality score. So the way that they can attribute the purchase on your store back to the ad is not based on just the click and the cookie, because that is increasingly hard. For example, let's say you see an Instagram ad on your phone and then you come and purchase on your desktop. Very hard to link those together. But increasingly what Meta is asking for, and why it launched the Conversions API, is to link those based off first-party customer data, the customer's actual email, phone number, physical address. These are all data points, and Facebook and Google, well, Meta and Google, the two companies in the world that have a big enough device graph, a big enough user graph to actually to be able to link different behavior on different devices via their account system. So what Meta basically says is, look, the more of these data points you can share securely via our servers, the more likely we are to be able to match the ad back to the conversion, and the more likely we are to then use that signal to reinforce the learning of the algorithm, basically serve the ads to the right people. And again, going back to my previous point, in most setups without Littledata, you would be missing around 20 or 30% of the conversion signal would be lost and not captured into Google or Meta ads. And that means, it's hard to quantify the ROAS. It does change, and I think we'll come on to competitors in a bit, but people claim outlandish things. I just always say it's quite simple. That 20% extra we can track probably translates into a 20% improvement in efficiency. It might be more, but I think it's comfortable to say that you'll get a 20% uplift. And that uplift, as I said, is coming just because it's not a reporting thing. It's actually because, that missing. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say I talk about 20% of revenue going missing. So let's say you have 5 creatives running, right? And let's say 2 of those creatives are actually working, right? Now, if you only track 4 of the 5 conversions, what that might mean is creative 1 gets 3 conversions and creative 2 gets 1 conversion. But actually that missing 1 conversion should have gone to creative 1. So in the server side tracking world, they're both even and they both get credit and they both get reinforced. In the world in which you're using the native app, the free app, and you're not getting all that conversion tracked, it looks like the first creative is a lot better than the second one, and it gets all the credit and all the reinforcement. So unless you're tracking 100% of your revenue, unless you're feeding all that conversion data with the right customer data into Meta or Google Ads, it can't optimize for the right creative, the right placement.
Okay, that's great. That's actually a great explanation, because this is how Meta algorithm actually works. So we tell our clients a lot about that. Like, we need to have correct data, not because of just like to seeing the dashboard how it works, and to make the right decision, but actually it helps the algorithm run better if you have better data.
And it's all programmatic now. It's not like most ad campaigns are. It's not like you're going in and saying, "Oh, look, this one's doing a bit better. We'll allocate a bit more budget to that." It's all done automatically. But as I said, the allocation can go wrong if the tracking's wrong, because you're feeding it the wrong signals to reinforce.
Yeah. So this is a metric that I can translate, and I can calculate. Let's say I switch from the Meta to Littledata. So for example, there is this dashboard right here. Like, I can just really briefly share my screen and show you. So we see here, like, this is an events manager. Like, you can see all the events. This is the match quality. Like, when I install Littledata, do I expect the match quality for the purchase or the other events to actually improve? Or is this something that is arbitrary and it doesn't actually reflect the reality?
I mean, both is the answer. I mean, let's take the first point. Will it improve? Yes. It's going to improve more for the top of funnel events like initiate checkout and add to cart, because there's more delta we can do there in terms of the quality of the data. So I think you're seeing their event match quality score about 9. That would be about average for our conversion or purchase event. But that's probably only moving, the free native Facebook and Instagram channels are probably already managing a 7 or an 8. But if you look at initiate checkout, we're probably a 7 or 8, and the native one's probably only managing a 4 or 5. So I think there's a very big delta we can do on those add to cart and initiate checkout steps. To your second point, I mean, it's an approximation, right? It's not the only thing that matters, and it's certainly possible to have high event quality score, but still some dodgy data in there. So, for example, just because you're sending the email doesn't mean it's being sent in the right format or it's actually the customer's email. So, you know what I mean? There's some bits that it can't measure through that score, but I would say it's a good proxy.
Okay, and now let's go to the Meta. Like, why Meta doesn't actually fix those issues? So we are going to have like maximum attribution with their app that is free. Like, it's going to help them track better the customers. It's going to allow people to spend more on ads because like they don't need to spend like $5,000. Like they don't need to spend like $1,000 on an expensive tool because there are other tools that people use that are very, very expensive.
Well, I think the part of the answer is what I already said about Google's app, is that I think there's this problem that it's technically owned by Meta, but is not necessarily actively maintained by them. But I think also part of the point here is that the bigger brands, the biggest spenders, the biggest Shopify brands are spending on Meta. They're already doing server-side tracking. Like they're not relying on the app because it. So if you look at it from Meta's perspective, they're not reliant on that app for a lot of their ad spend. That's what they care about, is how do they drive more ad spend from the big advertisers. And the answer is the big advertisers, the really big stores on Shopify, they're already doing server-side tracking. They couldn't be running that amount of ad spend without it.
Yeah. By the way, like you mentioned server-side tracking, Meta has server-side tracking.
Correct. It does in the level, but they're using let's say a more sophisticated version of that, of server-side tracking. Yeah. So you're right. The free app uses Conversions API. It just doesn't do so to its full extent or in all cases.
Okay. And now that we know like what Littledata does, I want to understand like what is the difference between Littledata and all the other tools. What are the unique selling positions? And because there are like a lot of technical differences, like one is using Google Tag Manager, another is not. Like, so I want to know about the technical differences, and of course, like the differences between like the results that you might expect and how it works, and of course, like the pricing. So let's start about the technical stuff. Like, what is different?
So as you just said, that there's two basic approaches to server-side tracking for a Shopify brand. There's the solutions that are basically helping you implement server-side Google Tag Manager, and that's tools like Stape, Analyzify, was Elevar, but they switched to the way we do it now. And those tools are very flexible. They tend to work for brands outside of Shopify. The problem is they're a lot of technical setup. Like you have to actually go in and set up the tags. That means there's maintenance. And as I said, in the Shopify context, it means if you want to pull in all of this other custom data, there's a lot more, let's say, data engineering work you need to do. So I think there the differentiation is ease of setup, really.
And mainly, you mentioned like ease of setup. Like this is something important, of course, but like why would anybody like go with the more difficult option? I assume that it's going to be like, okay, we are serving just Shopify stores, so it makes sense to do like an integration that's going to be Shopify, and for tools that are also expanding into different markets like big commerce, custom websites, they would use Tag Manager. Like,
correct, but I think what we see, particularly with agencies, is if your agency is working across lots of different brands on different platforms, they might implement a generic solution just because the one they're familiar with. So I think sometimes people implement one of these sort of more generic server-side Google Tag Manager solutions just because they don't know that there's a better way. I think The only other reason why you go down that line is if you want to sort of you want to support lots of maybe other like data destinations. But I think to that, I would say, look, the vast majority of brands are spending the vast majority of their spend on Google and Meta and maybe TikTok, right? So I think there's much more value in making those channels perform a little bit better than trying to do server-side tracking to, Reddit or, all these other smaller channels. Um, so yes, then there's another sort of group of alternatives. As you know, there are a number of like dedicated Shopify apps which do server-side tracking now. I think that's flattering because we obviously have won the argument that this is a useful tool. People are finding that, and lots of people are getting great results. Why use Littledata though? I mean, I think part of it is about technical leadership. Let's say, like we've been doing this for 8 years now in the Shopify space. We know all of the nuances. We make updates every month to how that tracking works and how to improve it. So I think it's trusting a partner that has deep expertise in this field. I think the second thing is being able to go deeper with some of the events and data properties. So to give you an example, one of the things we launched this year is being able to target new versus returning customers in Meta and Google Ads. So for example, you can trigger a campaign to only optimize based on net new customer acquisition. Yes, that's cost more. It's a higher CPA to buy new customers, but it means that you're not wasting ad spend on people who would have previously, may have converted through your email list because they've already purchased from you. So that's the kind of example of innovation of like where we can go deeper that the other apps cannot. And we've made a strategic decision to double down on Shopify. Like we have the opportunity to go broader, but I think that's a mistake in the sense that there's a lot of opportunity to really pull more custom data from the Shopify ecosystem and allow some of those campaigns to be better targeted, better personalized. And that's our strategy, is to allow basically be a Shopify data layer. And I think, again, that's differentiating from some of the other apps we talked about that are just more broadly trying to service Shopify brands.
Okay. So basically, like another thing that I want to ask about Littledata, I'm not very sure that this is the case, but I think that Littledata only serves Shopify businesses, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So is that something that it's a feature? Like, are you going to expand more on that, or do you plan to actually go outside Shopify? Because there is, of course, like Shopify market is huge, but you can expand to different markets as well if you implement another strategy.
No, that's what I meant. It is a strategic choice to focus on Shopify. And there's a couple of reasons why. The first thing is that we want to have the very best Shopify product. And we believe that if we start spreading to other platforms, it dilutes our product and research efforts. The second thing is there's a really interesting product vision and some features coming very soon in our roadmap to basically go deeper with Shopify, which means things like embedding our app within the Shopify admin for ease of management, building custom events. So a really good example of that is I just talked about new versus returning customers, but another interesting technique we've seen is a cross-selling across categories. So you might want to target your ad based on someone who'd only purchased a particular category from you previously, and you want to try and cross-sell to another product category, or get Shopify to, get Meta to sort of build a lookalike audience based around people who'd purchased a particular category or maybe above a particular average order value. So being able to pull more of that stuff in, loyalty tiers, reviews, all of this stuff we can pull in from the Shopify app ecosystem into the marketing channels, and that's a strategy which I think will set us apart from a lot of the alternatives in the space.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually something useful I found when I used Littledata. Like the custom events that you have are actually useful, and it's something that you can really test and see. Like because you have like two events, which is like the new customer and the returning customer. So basically, you can separate the ads not just by the audience, but basically the optimization event with something that can actually work even better than trying to play with audiences that Facebook nowadays like doesn't even like respond to your calls.
The features of target new customers within Meta is quite flaky and doesn't, so it's not a reliable way of doing that. So the reliable way is to actually get the data from Shopify and just know, is this a person who's bought from us before?
Yeah, I completely agree, and because like we manage meta ads and we see what is happening more, we try to find new customers. Like it is very very difficult nowadays. It's not like what it used to be, because they try to simplify the algorithm. They try to simplify the ad setup. So it's much harder nowadays to find to basically be able to target. And so another thing that I would like to point out before we close the little data like and differences, I want to point out one thing, and it is that many people will use, and we are going to use those tools not for better tracking, but there are other reasons why. And one of them, like if they want to create a custom event like the new customer event, if they are going to do it with the app, they are going to have only web-based tracking, which is awful. Like they cannot have custom events on the app.
Correct. Yeah, so you could go into Google Tag Manager and you'd have all that flexibility, but then, as you say, you wouldn't be doing the server to server tracking bit of it.
Yeah, and this is going to be definitely going to be a problem for them. Also, if you want to remove, let's say I'm doing also B2B, B2C and B2B, like I sell wholesale and I sell retail through on my online store. If you sell a lot in wholesale and you're trying to run meta ads, you are going to see like some numbers that are going to be, you cannot make decisions based on the ads, because the ads are going to track also the wholesale orders that are repeated customers, and they are going to inflate the results, and you are going to have like really bad results on your meta ads that you cannot trust. Meta doesn't allow you to actually exclude customers, exclude specific orders based on tags. Neither do we tracked does that. So basically, you have to go either with Elevar, Littledata. Like this, it was like one of the main reasons that we have switched like to Elevar 3 of our clients, because it wasn't about tracking, because they don't know what they don't know. But the inflated results on Meta, they could clearly see
No,
them.
it's a really good point. Order exclusion or order filtering is a very important feature, and as you say, you can do that differently for each data destination. So you might want to track all of your wholesale orders in Google Analytics, but as you say, from the point of view of Meta, you want to exclude them because they're frankly not influenced by your Meta ads in any meaningful way. Equally, on the other side, you might want to include your point of sale orders, because actually, based on the custom data, we can link those back to ad spend. So I think you're right. That's configurable, and actually another feature coming next month will be support for Shopify markets. So as you know, a lot of Shopify stores are now moving to a multi-market setup where within one store you can have maybe your UK store, your Europe store, your US store, but also you might have your B2B store. So again, for each market, you'll be able to configure whether you want to send those orders, where you want to send them. So it's quite powerful like that.
Yeah, for sure. And now that we have that out of the way, like this is my personal question, basically, because I just want to understand, do I have to connect Google Analytics with Littledata? Like, do I have to do that? Or it's not useful? Like I can because it's just for reporting. Like if I'm not using Google Analytics at all, I can still use it just a replacement for just Meta, or just a replacement just for just
Yeah,
Google.
well, the way we price it is that we have we have, sorry, just one moment, let's get rid of the phone call. Yeah, the way we price it is that we price it into a destination bundle. So if you want the Google Ads connection, you get Google Analytics for free as well. So as I said, I'd always recommend if you're connected to Google Ads to have Google Analytics, partly as I said earlier, because it brings you the audience building possibilities into Google Ads. If you want the Meta connection, it's part of a separate bundle, paid social, and you get that with TikTok and Pinterest, but you don't have to, have the Google one as well. So, you can pick and choose which data destinations you want. The majority of our Shopify customers use the whole product. We haven't talked about the email and SMS connections for Klaviyo and Attentive, but those are also a kind of an added powerful use case. And again, part of the differentiation we have from some of the, let's say, Meta-only tracking solutions is that, we can support all of those common marketing channels.
Yeah. Okay. And the last question about this industry in general, like why those tools are so expensive? Like this is something that I had in my mind. Like I don't know of any tool that it's very very cheap. Like I know like the other day I stumbled across Aimers. Like the smaller package is like $300 per month, and they go up to like $2,000. And it's actually like really expensive. Elevar is expensive too. Your tool is a cheaper option, but still, someone would regard like a free meta or like pay $100 per month. Like it's not $20 like any other app. So why this is happening in this particular space, you think?
I mean, there's quite a few reasons. I mean, the first simple reason is that it's not a trivial thing. Like, if you compare it to like all of the $20 apps in the App Store, that just like maybe they're adding one small widget to your website or something. That is really easy to build. I could code that in a couple of weeks. So I don't need to charge a lot. We've spent, I think I totaled up about $6 million of product development to Littledata over the time we've been running the company. So not a trivial investment at all. Second point is that it is that product development cost has to be spread across a number of customers. And the problem about focusing on a niche like brands on Shopify is there's only so many of them you can sell to. So I think the challenge we will have, like, if I was selling to hundreds of thousands of customers globally, I could obviously afford to sell the software. I could split that 5 million into more different ways and sell it for $50 a time. But I think when you sell any software to a niche and it's really tailored to that niche, it necessarily is a bit more expensive because you can't recoup the money off so many brands. But I think the third way of answering is look, it works. I think when we have customers, you say it's too expensive. It's like, well, look, just let's put this into context. So a typical brand we work with would be spending less than 1% of their ad spend on Littledata, probably 0.5% of their ad spend on Littledata. So you really don't have to believe it's going to have much of a performance uplift for that to be great return on investment. And frankly, if it's going to have, as I just claimed earlier in the podcast, if it's going to have a 20% improvement on your ad spend, you're talking about a 30 or 40x return on investment. So I don't think, if you think about it in terms of return on investment, they are expensive tools. We're not trying to be cheap, we're trying to be great. And I think if you want great, Littledata is the right place to come to.
Yeah, I understand. And like the main reason why I think like this is the market, like it's basically you to use this tool you have to run ads. So basically it's a cost that you have to include in your ads. Ads are expensive, like you are going to pay on ads, and it's solving a problem that it's covering its cost. So you basically want to price based on the problem that you actually solve, not like by like how much it costs you to actually service the client, for example.
We've maybe skipped something quite important about this whole context here, which is that, for most brands, ad spend is going up as a share of their cost, right? It's increasingly expensive, not necessarily to buy the ads, but to get people to convert on your site. There's more competition. And so the ability to target that spend more effectively, the ability to use strategies like targeting on new customers, like targeting new subscription customers, these are increasingly valuable as your ad spend goes up. So that's why I see the context what Littledata is operating in is that, a few years ago, maybe you didn't need this so much because you could afford a bit of wastage. It wasn't a big problem for you. But now, when ad spend is more expensive, you really can't afford to waste it on the wrong creative, wrong campaigns.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And especially like if you're spending money, it's something that like you are going to lose even more money if you don't have the right tracking. So overall, it's a really good investment, especially if you spend a lot of money on ads. Now, I want to go back and like the last question like is for that that I have is I see so many we tracked ads out there, like so many. I've entered like two of my friends and three of my clients. I entered like the Shopify store and I saw like we track there, like how you learn about we tracked, and like all the ads, like I see all the ads that it's going to increase my performance. And this is like I see this marketing strategy and they say, okay, this is effective because people, job shippers, like they are going to start running ads. They are going to use WeTrack because they get convinced with videos that this is actually going to improve performance. While little data, I did research to find little data. So I want to know your thoughts, like, and your customer acquisition process. Why you don't do that?
So actually, what happened is we were spending quite a bit on Google Ads, particularly back in 2023, and then we had a bit of a what I would call a crisis moment. I'm sure you've seen this from your brands, where the kind of return on ad spend was going down, and we realized that ultimately what we'd done, classic marketing error, is we'd focused too much on performance marketing and not enough on brand marketing. So like performance marketing ads only works in the context of a strong brand, right? You need people in the market to have awareness of your brand and know what you stand for. The ads are really the way to activate and to retarget and bring conversion. So I think we realized we just got completely out of balance between performance and brand marketing spend. So we took a different strategy. We cut a lot of the ad spend. We've really focused the last 18 months on a lot more what I would call grassroots networks, with agency partners, getting Shopify events, on building our content on LinkedIn and YouTube, and I think those are all important. Let's say those are the sort of baseline sort of brand activities you need to be doing as a SaaS product in this space. We are now we've got built up the revenue, starting to invest a bit more in ads. So you will see a bit more from Littledata and ad spend. In fact, we've engaged a freelancer who got great experience. Used to work for Nike and various other brands since, and I think she's going to be helping us with that. So you're right. It's not something we've been doing recently, but I do think as part of the mix, it's important. I just think what we got wrong previously is that, and I say this to our D2C clients as well, and we had this, I was at a breakfast yesterday with one of our agencies in London, and we had this roundtable discussion with a group of brands, mainly in the kind of home and kind of garden area. And yeah, they were talking about how they, although yes, they were all spending on heavily on Meta and some extent on Google, they understand they also need to do other brand activities alongside of that. One of them was actually talking about how much success they've had with a physical catalog, mailing people in the post. And they can prove through uplift studies that the people who get that are more likely to purchase. You're obviously much harder to track. You can't track the clicks on a physical mailing, but you absolutely can track based on postcode or based on region, that people were more likely to buy or not. And I think that's what's important with any sort of marketing strategy, is that you have the balance that when people do see your ads, but they see your ads knowing, and it's a reminder to think, oh yeah, no, I know what those guys do, I should buy them.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, it is something crucial that we tell our customers as well, the Shopify stores that we manage. It's basically direct to consumer brands, that you need to invest also like in brand marketing. Like, you need to be out there and talk about your brand, find creative ways to advertise your brand. However, like, I have to tell you, like, as a closure,
As
like
an ad agency, yes.
Google Ads, Google Ads is more middle to bottom of the funnel because it's too
Yes.
expensive. Like, you cannot communicate very well like a new product to them with Google
I
Ads.
mean, one of the challenges we had previously was actually with the Google Ads was keywords. And so there's a quite a technical one we have, which is there's a Shopify partner we're not allowed to advertise on the word Shopify. It's against the partner T's and C's. And the problem is if that's what our proposition is, that we're Shopify specialists, it's very hard to do keyword search advertising and not use the word Shopify. So that was one of the challenges we had.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, this is another issue, like a second issue why Google Ads was like the problem, because like we tracked, they don't scale. Like, they do Google Ads, but most of the spend is on Meta. Like, they spend huge amount of money. Like, they have over 500 ads active on their ad library. So they doing that because on Meta you can basically build your brand along the way, because you have videos explaining. You can acquire new customers because you explain your brand, like through a video, through a visual. And so it's you can build your brand on Meta. It's very hard to build your brand on Google. So The budget allocation there, I would seem like to be an issue.
I mean, I think, well, with the exclusion of YouTube ads, I mean, I think YouTube ads can be effective for brand, and we will be doing that. We've actually just built a better kind of animated explainer video for 30 seconds. We'll be using trying YouTube and Instagram. Out of interest, going back to WeTrack, so that you talk, obviously, you're using a sort of you can use sort of competitive tools to look at ad spend. I mean, is it possible to use those tools to estimate how much someone is spending on ads? You say you can see how many creatives they got out there, but
Yeah, you can do an average estimation. You cannot know for sure. And yeah, after this call, I can tell you ways to know for sure. But
yeah, no, interested, because I think that's an area
yeah,
you know a lot about. It's not
yeah,
our area of
but
expertise.
there are ways to know for sure. But it's something that you like. It's very important to have that into perspective. Like that you have a tool that is very useful, and there are other tools out there that are like doing the same thing, and
But
basically
shouting about it.
they say yeah they're shouting about so. And this was like very clear to me when I saw like all those tools like being used, and I also like I've been using Elevar with Track, like I've used Amers I haven't used because like I don't know anybody that used them. I've also used Littledata, and so far like I see an improvement with all of them, like using just Meta, but all the nuances and all the issues, like I have my personal opinion. Like there are different tools for different areas, and I definitely think that it's a really good market that you are right now, and it's you solve a real issue that Shopify businesses all over the world have. And yeah, I don't know, like
Thank you.
if you want to share anything as a close remark.
No, I just I echo what you said. I think yeah, we were pioneers in this market 8 years ago. I think it's the solution, the technology has come of age. It's now established as a thing that you need. As I said, I think if you are a brand out there looking to choose one of these tracking technologies, then you need, as you said, to look at what is the sort of leading product, because everyone does claim a big thing. I think, frankly, in a lot of cases, the uplift, as you've said, is reasonably similar. But there were lots of nuances on the skin about how configurable it is, how easy to set up, the quality of support you're going to look at, and I think that's all areas we exceed in.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Edward, for very much for coming in this pod. It was a really nice conversation. I've learned a lot, and it's something that also the listeners are going to learn about all the tools, because it is confusing and there are not a lot of videos explaining exactly what they do. So I definitely think it's a really useful conversation, and I really liked coming to the post. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.